Every time.
Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, Senior Bowl Day 2 coverage. Here we are on Heartbreak Hill.
Oh, Chris, I feel your pain.
OMG. The Wi-Fi here is ass.
It's terrible. So where Andy is sitting, about 10 minutes ago, Hendon Hooker was sitting there and giving us a great interview. And it didn't go out over the air because the Wi-Fi in here is awful. And it could go on us at any moment. So we're playing on borrowed time here.
Fingers crossed.
But, yeah, it was very graciously. Talked about his rehab, talked about his recovery, talked about Ray Agnew, and
it's still lagging. I mean, we'll still try it live. We'll do it live. We're recording it locally as well. So if we have to, we'll upload that as a separate one. No, I got you.
Okay, good.
So we'll do that as well. Some of the most frustrating stuff, though, to have those kind of technical glitches. Hendon was absolutely a great interview. And let's read
about his rehab. He's able to put full weight on his injured leg. He walked over here. He's got a giant brace leg on. I've talked about he can do physical therapy in his hotel room.
Yep.
He's got like I forget what he called it. It's like a stimulator thing. Excuse me. Keeps his muscles sharp.
Yep.
He walked without a limp.
Yeah. Yes.
Walked. Normally he's not on crutches or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I talked to him on the way out to the booth when I grabbed him, and one of the things that I said was is this knee brace a permanent thing or his thing? I'm wearing it because of what we're doing this week. I'm standing way more. I'm putting more pressure on it. I'm walking a lot.
He's out on an active field.
Yeah, he's out on an active field. Exactly. It just kind of makes sense just to stabilize a little bit more. But outside of that, it seems like things are going pretty well for him.
And so one of the other things that he talked about was that he is active. He is on the roster. He is participating. He's just not playing. Yep. He's in the reps. He's listening in on all the calls. He's very engaged, very active, trying to show his leadership, trying to get with the other quarterbacks and go through the reps mentally and do everything that he can other than being out there and physically throwing the football.
And he said it's just killing him not being out there.
You could see it in his eyes too, like he wants to go.
But the thing about it was, and we talked about the character. I mean, there's people out that could be here that we didn't talk about this side of it, but have drinking incidents or whatever. That he chose not to, not just to come and get through the interviews though. He's standing out there on the field
just got that.
with the players. He's standing out there on the field with the players and in the calls and the headsets, the whole thing. That's a lot of character. He is chomping, and you could see it in him. And he said, "Yeah, he hates standing there. He wants
of Hendon Hooker beelining to Ray Agnew, the Lions assistant general manager." Yep. And they talked. He brought up the fact that they're from the same place, from the was Winston-Salem, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ray Agnew went to Winston-Salem State. Hendon talked about which is actually not very far from there at all. Right. Tennessee also not very far from there. They're calling all in that same, different. Enjoyed it. Talked very enthusiastically about Ray Agnew and their relationship, so that was cool.
Yeah, and the relationship is not just being from the same area. I mean, you nailed it yesterday when you talked about it as seeing his uncle that he sees every week, and then he hadn't seen him for a week. So it was good to see that. It was interesting. He did have a shine in his eyes when he talked to Detroit Lions. I mean, I don't want to, I can't give anything away or anything, but he definitely would be happy in a Honolulu
for
uniform.
Sure.
Yeah. One of the things that I also heard him talking about was, his ability to cheer on his teammates that are here and be around the Lions roster.
My goodness, yes. And he talked about his right tackle in mind, because this is a guy that we're very interested in. He stood out yesterday. We talked about him last night on the wrap-up show. Just a guy that we're, as the Detroit Lions podcast collectively, we like him a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what we get today out in the field. I think there's a little bit of worry about tomorrow with some potential rain. So today's one where we got to really focus in. We do have to stop for some sunscreen before we get to the field.
The sun literally just came out here. We only drive by like 50 CVS's on the way out there.
Do they sell hats and Macs? Oh, we don't call them Max raincoats.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about. We had some Richard Gorridge from Florida. I keep want to put an S on his name.
Left tackle at Florida is willing and able to play any of the offensive line positions, and that's somewhat pertinent to the Detroit Lions because they happen to need a sixth lineman as well as a.
And the thing about him that I like so much is he knows there's always just things to work on, little things to grow and do, and he's as any good offensive lineman knows, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
They make a long career of it.
He made such a good point about the idea of not wanting to injure your teammates or people on the other team, right? And folks forget about that. You're playing football. You really, really want to hit. I mean, it's part of, and you're trying to stand out, right? You're trying to make, especially as like a player in the secondary, you want to stand out and make that, right? You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to hurt yourself, but you to show what you had, the jump from college to pro of wrapping up when you tackle right into the lost art. Of forcing a turnover.
Yeah, which was one of his fortes.
It's the abs, though. I mean, you could play him like a xylophone. He was incredible, right? And then sitting here, he's just a...
Yeah, he belongs.
You might as well say that name at this point.
But like, even just like a couple of guys that we talked to just casually.
Yeah. I think like they're, for the most part, everybody that's here.
But he ended one section. I got it on video because I was standing in front of his podium, and then somebody asked him, "What's your favorite people in the ground?" Like nonchalant. Just said that's how he ended it. And I'm like, that's perfect. He's made himself some money too. But we're.
The thing about it, we learned
all
from
these guys,
Dion and
so cool.
The other guys like that was the concept that they're here for the team. They don't help them all the plays all the time. Like they have to play their position. They have to do what they're successful. Those things stand out. And again, what Hendon Hooker's doing with and how he's handling it and how he's even articulating his way through this whole process. Show
watching an interview punts yourself.
That's right.
What do you attribute to your success in blocking punts? And he was like, it's not my success. It's team success. Yep. The coach puts me in a place that I can excel and do my work in the best position possible. And it's these answers are so good. These kids, I think, we're kind of turning over a leaf of, we're not the me anymore. We are the, I'm happy to be a cog that helps my team win.
I also think there's something to most of these guys are old COVID year. They had their extra year. So like Hooker, Jaron Hall, those guys, they're 25 already, so they have a different level of maturity. But even some like Gurridge coming in here, like you're different when you're 20. I thought Jaron Hall gave a great answer to it earlier today. He's like, it's helped me. Like I know my body better now. Like I know how better to take care of myself. I'm not stressed about things in life that normal college kids are because I'm beyond that now.
Yep.
And I think that allows some of those guys to come into the NFL and they're much more ready to be a professional than a guy who's 20 years old and his first paycheck goes to the Mercedes dealer and the next one goes to a boat dealer.
There'll be a lot more older guys coming through and coming into the NFL, and that's something that they have to get used to. And that's what I think like a lot of the used to. These guys are going to be able to make money in college. They don't have to get out of school and take that shot at the NFL to make some money. And that's the good things about it. There's going to be more different, which has a egg timer on your longevity versus somebody who's playing like a quarterback, right? We'll say because they can usually play a lot longer in the league. I mean, what do? Do you take the NIL money and just hold on to it? Do you go to the NFL and take your chances? I mean, it puts a whole new spin on what's going on. But the one thing, and so it's probably going to differ by age. But the one thing that everybody's going to have to work is hard. Some of those, I mean, it's really interesting the psychology of how this is going to play.
Too, like I covered the Cleveland Browns, and so Kwesi here, 22, 23 years old, just because of the COVID year, because of the NIL money that pushes it back, which is something that Jim Nagy talked about. For teams like that,
and lift money, right?
Yeah, lift money,
yeah. It's all out there. Can we talk a little bit just about the environment here? The 2 hours of availability of players. I mean, they're right there in the room across from us. They walk in right to our left through that door. Mm-hmm. It's 25 feet behind Andy is the entrance, and all the interviews and everything happens right there. 2 hours. I mean, it's crazy. It's just chaos, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it's Andy. We're going to do a hotspot or something next time. Well, we're locally recording everything. It is a crazy pace, and there's no instruction manual for how to.
Absolutely not. Honestly, this was fantastic. The way that they kind of set this up, they had a bunch other, they had their names on their back, so they were fairly easy to figure out.
The one team was, anyways.
The national team. Yeah, the American team had a lot of backbacks.
That guy's going. He's going to be the first interior offensive lineman taken, I would bet, and he's earned it. Schmitz, that's his name.
Yeah.
Really good guy. He was actually a little shorter than I expected him to be, but when you're a center and he's a center, like you don't have to be 6'8".
Yeah. It is.
And they're Jared Patterson seated, and I tapped him on the shoulder like, "Hey, Jerry, big guy."
Yeah. As soon as he stood up, it was very apparent.
Yes.
It was yes.
Yeah, and so that's the fun part, and then you get to go watch him out and play.
Yep.
And we're going to get to go out to
kind of just bask in. Yeah. And this is not a cut at all. Don't. I hope nobody takes it that way. But with the work that Andy went to get Hendon, for us to be sitting here doing the interview, Cat waiting to talk while we had that going on. And 20 men. That was a you talk about like just.
So by the way, in the distance now, Tim Twentyman is interviewing Ray Agnew at one of the podiums where the Senior Bowlers are. I can see it.
Yep.
And they just walked in, so it's kind of cool to see the behind-the-scenes stuff too. Tim's a great guy. We all liked him a lot.
Yeah,
and we
Dave too. Like I said,
that amount of time, and it's a player that the Lions will be interested in. I don't want to spoil it because it's Dave. Dave did the work, so Dave deserves the credit for it. I'll let him do it. But
we were waiting.
We were waiting. Dave has been around the block enough to know that he's not going to waste.
Are going to look good today, especially in one-on-ones.